So there have been a lot of great games this year. Granted, there have also been some games that have been not so great. But I think I can faithfully say that with Riders Republic, this is the first game that has been very pleasant for me to play. I think this might be, for the first time ever, the first game that just lets you sit back, relax, and have no frustration. Alright. Maybe it's gonna be a little frustrating. So yeah, like I was saying, Riders Republic is an open world sports game where you can either race or be very good at doing tricks. Whichever one that it is that you prefer, however, it doesn't really matter for the core gameplay of everything. All in all, this is the first time, like I've said before, where there's a game that actually has a good idea and that good idea is actually very well executed. If you played any of Ubisoft's previous titles, you'll probably find this game to have a strong similarity to The Crew meets Steep. But I think what really gives this game a better chance to shine is that it's doing something different than most racers would actually do. Similar to how The Crew 2 worked, even though people didn't like how The Crew 2 worked, this game allows you to participate in what's known as world events. And inside of those world events, you're not just riding a bike, you're not just riding a snowboard, you're probably riding all three. Granted, not at the same time, obviously, but in between certain sections of the race, there will be certain switch off points. And during that moment, you'll switch to either a rocket wing, which is just basically a jetpack, or you can switch off to, like I said, snowboard, skis, your favorite mountain bike. All for the simple sake of sweating your butt off to hit first place or just relaxing and having fun and completely eating dirt. But regardless of what it is that you think you'll be going through in this game, I wanted to show you a few things that actually make this game pop and the things that give this game the best element. So first things first, we're going to start off with the character customization. Now, Ubisoft, in my opinion, doesn't have the greatest character customization in the world when it comes to certain games like this. However, I would say this is the first time where character customization isn't the main importance of the game, because considering the amount of, I don't know, clothing and the amount of weird things that this game allows you to wear when you're racing, how your character looks underneath probably is not going to matter. Granted, you're probably going to want to get your skin tone just to have certain things look the way you want them to look. But regardless, the customization in this game, I would say, is fairly low, but it's not, how would I say, disappointing compared to some games that I have played. Moving on from that, you're probably going to be wondering if this game has a story, and yes, it does. It does. The story elements are basically with the characters that you have interactions with. But as far as your character, you're going to be doing some events, and with each event that you do, you're just going to get higher and higher into a better tier, or a different threshold, you would say. So that way you can be able to compete in a bunch of different events, or a couple of mystery events, if you know what I mean. But yeah, in terms of this game's story, the really cool thing I like about this is that this game has a, I want to say like a MTV type of vibe. The story elements in this game give you a very early 90s, 2000, kind of like the early days when everyone was just wanting to be like a pro BMXer or a pro skateboarder around those times. You know what I mean?
What's up?
Hey there, champ. Looks like you've been hitting the slopes.
Well, you're the one always saying, life is short, gotta ride hard.
Right on. I do say that.
The fact that this game gives you a non-stop vibe of doing extreme radical sports, and yes, I said the word radical, I think that's the best element about this game practically so far. Other than the fact that they allow you to do tricks on an ice cream bike, but we'll get into that for a second later. For right now, I wanted to talk about how this game actually feels, and in terms of the game's overall mechanics. So when you're first playing this game, you get the option of doing either a manual selection of how you do your tricks or an automatic selection of how you do your tricks. And not only that, but you can also get the preference on whether you're a racer or whether you're a bit of a trickster. whether you like to choose one or the other is actually going to be a very good importance on whether you start having a lot of fun with this game. So for example, if you don't have the proper button layout, you may get used to using simple button layouts for using A and Y as well as X and B in order to go horizontal and vertical in terms of flips and spins and backflips and all that crazy shit. But try to go for manual instead. And what I mean by that is, depending on how your controller layout is or how you configure your brain to play this game, you may have a little bit of a struggle not understanding the proper way that you should be able to play that's more comfortable for you. So I would say definitely play this game for a half hour, but also consider whether your controller layout is the best controller layout suitable for you. Because keep in mind, there's a difference in the tricks that you do between snowboard and skis. Granted, you're doing both grab tricks, but the familiarity between each one can be a little different, and it's just a little food for thought for when you first starting to play this game, especially if you're trying to actually be good at doing trick encounters. Not to mention, when it comes to just simply moving around, each board or each bike or each pair of skis that you get, it may not seem that there's a difference in their stats, but there actually is. And if you actually try to do it in certain events, try using a different pair of skis versus a different snowboard, and you'll actually see that each one is actually a little bit more difficult than the other in terms of how you handle it, of course. But in terms of your control layout, it's gonna matter whether you're used to jumping with A and trying to do a front flip at the same time, or if you've adapted like I have and just simply started using the right thumbstick to be able to get your tricks off of. Like I said before, whether you're just a try-hard sweat lord who wants to definitely get to first place, or whether you're someone who just wants to learn how to do the best tricks on the planet, you're gonna need to basically understand whether you're good at doing an auto land for yourself, or if you're gonna want to do some manual. Because trust me, in the middle of a world race when you're doing perfectly fine and you just want to do a simple backflip, that is the one thing that will mess you up hands down. Speaking of the one thing that will mess you up hands down, let's talk about the level design. The level design in this game is amazing. It's amazing and almost too amazing if you kind of played the game a little bit. So I'd say the level design in every aspect of the map is very well utilized. The snow feels very much like snow. When you're mountain biking down a hill, it feels absolutely incredible, especially when you get to the canyons. Now, I would say when it comes to the level design in this game, they really emphasized on the physics of how fast you're going or how hard you hit something. And what I mean by that is there may be some times when in the middle of doing a drift, or if you just basically hit the brake and you try to drift a little bit, depending on what you hit, you might fall off of your bike. And if you've ever played any of the canyon races, you would know for a fact that hitting the slightest rock can completely mess up your momentum, or just snagging a tree slightly in the most slightest way can completely throw off your momentum and completely throw you in last place. Overall, there isn't really a suggestion that I would really be able to have to give to you for this type of thing. It just comes down to knowing a bit of what it is that you're riding and understanding how hard you have to turn, or how much effort you have to put into how much gas you're doing, or how much boost you have, or how much speed you're going at. It all really matters when you actually start to get the hang of. Finally, I just want to talk about my overall impressions of the game, simply based on just the betas that we've had with the upcoming release on October 28th. My overall experience with Riders Republic has been so smooth in my mind that regardless of any of the previous games that Ubisoft may have done that I may have not liked, this is the game that's gonna put me a little bit more on their good side, or sorry, this is gonna put them on my good side, if you know what I mean. Like I said earlier, it's very rare that an idea can actually be done and very well executed, and for the sake of this game, I'm very happy that they executed well on this idea, and that they didn't take the typical, how can I say, the typical games as a service route, where rather than letting the game be as good as it can possibly be based on the things that the fans want, they simply try to employ things to just constantly get me to keep playing the game, even though there's no need to keep playing the game other than, you know, stat and experience progressing and stuff like that. Riders Republic to me feels like the very first game in a very long time that Ubisoft has done where a lot of not just thought, but a lot of care has been taken into this. Like seriously, as I was saying before, they let you ride a freaking ice cream bike. And if I'm correct, depending on what beta I played, they let you ride a bike that has messed up spokes or messed up wheels. They let you ride a folding bike. They let you ride a tiny little bike, a little tiny bike, like a 2-year-old's bike or something like that. Even though 2-year-olds can't ride bikes, I understand that. Still, I wouldn't be surprised if this game allowed me to ride a unicycle down a mountain. At this point, I really wouldn't be surprised. This game even lets you, dude, I wouldn't be surprised if they let you do something crazy and wacky as just having a snowboard go down dirt, like a dirt board, for some odd reason. You'd think that wouldn't work, but trust me, in this game, I have a feeling that they're willing to make anything work inside of this game. The one thing I'm surprised that they haven't done is let me do tricks on the snowmobile, but I'm pretty sure if we continue to ask, then they'll probably give it to us. Regardless of which, in case you're wondering, Riders Republic, before it even has come out, has already been my game of the year. And in case you're wondering, even though that sounds crazy, last year my favorite sports game of the year was Tony Hawk. And Tony Hawk won Game of the Year last year, well, for Best Sports Game. So I would have to say, if this is going to be what's going to be inside of the Game Awards this year, I know for a fact that this game is going to get nominated for one of the best sports games of this year. And if we're being honest, it only has to go up against FIFA and maybe Forza and maybe like a few golf games or something like that. But let's be fairly honest here. Riders Republic, for what it is and everything that they're trying to sell it as, is amazing, hands down. And it's damn sure going to be my favorite game of the year. Probably going to be my favorite game of the next decade. But overall, hey, if you don't believe me, I guess we'll have to wait a little bit later on till about December-ish, if the Game Awards do happen this year. And regardless of which, as always, I thank you for sticking around and listening to me rant. My name is Chaos the Gamer, and yeah, GG's.